Yona! This ends here.
Strike hard. Hold nothing back.
How could a mere tool hope to stand against the Shadow Lord?
Don't speak in such a manner, fool. I am nothing like you.
Be careful!
I know!
Vice, you alright?
Naturally, I am as fit as a fit.
Wait. Brother?
Yona. Huh?
Please, just stop. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't need someone else's body. I don't want it. There's another girl inside this body. I can hear her. She won't stop crying. She says she wants to see her brother.
Yona's been possessed?
This girl loves her brother too, just as much as I do. It's not right, you know? It's not right that she can't see him. It's you, isn't it?
Yes, it's me. go home.
I'm really sorry. I don't know what to... I'm so very sorry. No matter what. Just know that... I love you.
What's up, Lucy?
Hurry. The shade that possessed her is gone.
Your head hurts? What's up, Lucy?
Kind, watch over going for me. You want me to understand your sadness? You think I'm gonna sympathize with you? I swore to protect my sister and my friends. If someone puts them in danger, they must stand aside or be cut down. Now come on, let's finish this. Vice, what's wrong?
You're freaking me out here, Vice.
What are you doing? Stop so... Just do it. Strike the killing blow. One moment, please.
You okay?
Fine, just fine. All right, no, I'm not.
Vice,
It seems some headstrong idiot has decided to push me beyond my limits. I should have taken that job as a cookbook when I had the chance.
Vice, sorry. Sorry.
Only joking. I hate cookbooks.
But
Let's go. Out of the way. I have one final task to fulfill.
where are you going?
Why, to stop him, of course. But after that, it's up to you. Only you can see this battle to its conclusion. I wish you luck, my friend.
You can't. I swore I'd always fight by your side.
You are an exceedingly stubborn lad. You know that, yes? Perhaps that's why I've so enjoyed our time together. But I fear this is where our journey ends.
Vice!
Oh, and remember what I told you about using my full name? Well, forget it. I've grown rather fond of Vice.
Vice. I knew you'd come around.
Don't let it go to your head now.
Your mom voice sounds backwards.
I have something to defend. I have a reason to live. Shut up. Is Iona all right? Oh God, no.
Oh, please, the girl is fine.
Weiss? Where are you? Are you okay?
I am as well as can be, considering I have lost my physical form. Doubtless my voice will be the next to go, so listen closely. Your sister is safe. Do not mourn her, and do not give up hope. Instead, you must call her back to you.
How?
Use your memories. Recall the times you spent with her. Present her with proof that the two of you live still, and that your lives have meaning.
I don't know.
Typical. But take heart. I know you can do it.
What's my favorite food? Cookies. What's my favorite book? That's my magic storybook. What's my favorite place? Home with you. What's my favorite flower? The lunar tear, of course. Okay, one more question. Who do I love more than anyone? Is that you? Is this my body?
Yes, Iona. It's yours and yours alone.
You look bigger than before. Like you've grown up.
Guess you haven't seen me for a while.
Have I been asleep this whole time?
Something like that.
It's almost like I'm a princess from some fairy tale.
Oh, Iona. I'm so happy to have you back.
Me too.
Kaine.
You and your sister, you have a good life, Kay?
Where are you gonna go?
Guess I'll...
You could stay with us, you know.
Thanks, but I'll pass. You know how it is. I got my own shit to take care of.
What do you mean?
Personal shit, alright? Anyway, take it easy, yeah?
Kaine.
Hey, look. It's beautiful. heard someone telling me how they wanted to see the light. And now, they can finally see it.
I'm not feeling anything, Chet. I, fucking refuse. It's not going well. I would like to stop feeling, please. Thanks.
Thank you. I love it. It's so sunny today.
Yeah, it sure is.
Boy, I love happy endings. Well, chat, this has been Nier Replicant. What a great game that we're gonna play through the second half another 2 times now. Oh. So now we save, get the second playthrough weapons, which I have to double check. I'm really worried we don't have them all. I don't know where I could be missing now. We've got the Iron Pipe, we have Iron Will, we have Kusanagi, we have the Labyrinth Shout, we have the Labyrinth Whisper, we have the Phoenix Dagger, we have the Phoenix Spear, we have the Phoenix Sword, we have the Sword, Spear of the Usurper. Dang. That was the thing. I need to check Seafront still. I need to make sure, with absolute certainty, that we have all the weapons from Seafront.
Whenever I interacted with Kaine, I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Anyway...
Chinese dreams, discrimination. The sound of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden, hawk-shaped weather vane in the center of town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed as long as any could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale white skin to give a face an almost sexless quality. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then the child blinked. Rain slowly dripping down the young one's short hair, and began its long descent to the ground. Come on, come on. The child felt a slight breeze and watched the vane slowly creep to life, spinning its this way and that for a moment. It had finally settled with the beak, pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? Before the vane could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbled through the air, striking home against the child's head. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice sprang out. Yoo-hoo, Kaine! The voice belonged to Timo, the worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kaine struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above her eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shapes of Timo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kaine's seemingly indifference to blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. What's up, freak? You like rain? You like getting all wet? Or did you decide to run away from home? All she knew was futile. Kaine turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kaine knew these were not the only eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to this sensation. It was one she'd experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of their children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition and fear, Kaine was something to be hated, and if possible, destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Demo's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt. Oh look, the little freak is gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kaine prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Demo crept ever closer, the clouds began to thin, and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless. A failure. I wish Demo's rock had taken my head off. Kaine couldn't meet Demo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The boy moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kaine's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. Show me. No. Did you just say no? Demo grinned evilly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kaine, he called out to his cohorts. Come on, guys. Let's give the freak what she deserves. As soon as Demo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kaine. Demo paused, still grinning, as Kaine curled up into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. Kaine ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane, and just continued to point east, as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak! Chanted the children. Freak! 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 Kaine closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned into terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. Kaine was shocked to see Demo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see a blood welling from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying. He's actually crying. To pry to their leaders, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kaine, but the young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was rapt on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touches my Kaine again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand that Demo was using to cover the wound. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ah! He screamed, leaping to his feet. Stop it! What are you thinking? Quit whining. No one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one. That thing could have killed me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for stupid. Demo's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kaine, he took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out. Leave this village. No one wants you here. Either of you. Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Demo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out a single laugh. Ha! Look at the fat boy go! Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman's smile faded as she turned her attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders. She produced a cloth in the folds of her dress and began blotting it to blood on her forehead. Oh, Kaine, she said. Why don't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kaine and she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears held in check for so long, finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned into sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, girl. It's a river wide. and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempt the crossing. You got a duty to fight until your last breath, understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine. You know because you survived it. His words hit home.
Pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
Facts. Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother. But when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. But with each passing year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caking across her face, that Kaine truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kaine's pain and loneliness, it was her. Did I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not, don't be an ass! Kaine drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body, it's not normal. If it was normal, Mom and Dad wouldn't... Hush! Interrupted Grandma. I don't hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. If folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kaine's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kaine want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears. Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without seeing one, and yet her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kaine reached up and touched the wreath as if she could not believe it was real. But where did you find these? Just stumbled on them when I was out doing the shopping. The old woman turned away as she spoke, leading Kaine to suspect the search had been more difficult than she was leading on. The pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in its construction, made Kaine's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kaine blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are! What a foolish thing to say! Thank you, Grandma. Her grandma smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. As long as we got each other, we'll be fine. Kaine took her grandma's hands in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began the long walk home, Kaine gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain had stopped. Kaine stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me and that's enough, even if it's us against the world. Kaine let her gaze drift up past the vane into the cloudy sky. The last faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed home, the light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Words. Many. In the distance, Kaine heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe! Oops. Kaine's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words that would make the most hardened sailors blush. Grandma, called Kaine. That you, Kaine? Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes out the wood for a moment. Don't get too close, or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. She brought the axe down on the piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kaine, close enough for her to get a whistle, at which point she decided to step back. When she scuttled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Grandma, do you need any help? I can get you water, or lunch, or a new axe or something." The axe poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment and smiled. "Tell you what, since I'm doing a piss-poor job of chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can get the water? Shade's been restless lately, and I don't want you running off into one of them bastards." Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far the more difficult of the two jobs, but Kaine knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kaine did her best to help with the chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kaine knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted or harassed by the villagers. Once Kaine moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter. And rare were the days when any but two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they call home. Kaine enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandma was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kaine turned her attention to the task at hand. She never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kaine swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Damn it! Ah, crap! Suddenly understood the joy her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had natural skill with the blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small, pink hands. This is tough, and the logs are all weird sizes. Spitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kaine redoubled her efforts. She was developing a rhythm. Grandma returned to the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one of the logs and coughed out a wheezing laugh. "Pretty clumsy, girl. You'd better practice if you... Grandmother suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Eyes wide, Kaine dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. "Grandma!" The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. "Get the bucket. Can't let it spill." Kaine studied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandma. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home on the hem of her dress. But Kaine didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening?" Crazed with panic, she lifted her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and batted Kaine away. "Stop that! Just stop!" she cried, breathing heavily. "It ain't like I'm dying. Just tired from the trip is all." Kaine desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hands and worn face told her more than words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life. Soon the bill was finally coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kaine was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. The next morning, Kaine came to the side of her grandma's bed and took her wrinkled hand. "Grandma, you're sick. You need medicine. I'm going to the village." The woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kaine gently pushed her down. It's all right," she said. "I'll be fine." Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed like eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. "Well, I don't like it, goddammit. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up." The woman watched Kaine strap on her boots and make her way down to the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across the dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kaine moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandma gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade. Worse, Demo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kaine finally found herself at the entrance to the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kaine took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. "I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong." She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund, older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air, telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kaine's presence. "Hey, lady," said Kaine with the bravado she did not feel. "Where's the apocryphy?" The woman's flabby cheeks shook in bewildered anger. "How dare this thing speak to me?" They seemed to say, but Kaine saw the eyes held a different emotion, fear. "Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one." "Which way?" Kaine repeated. The woman pointed to a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kaine cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride. She made her way to the apocryphy. But new emotion come to take root. For as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Tivo, clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand, because his gang of followers is nowhere to be found. "Oh my god," he sputtered. What are you doing, you freak?" The insult was delivered without force, and Kaine happily ignored it. Stretched on her tippy toes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. "Ha!" barked Demo. "That old bitch finally kneel over? Go to hell, Demo." The eyes grew so wide they seemed ready to fall out of his head, but before he could let it fly a comeback or worse, a punch, the apothecary told him to knock it off before he kicked him out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kaine under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. An ocean of aromas assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kaine a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place that she could call home. Or, on the far wall, behind the counter, rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained bright. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but the time had worked its cruel magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. "You like the picture?" Kaine turned to find the apocryphy with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her and into nothing as he spoke. "That's my daughter. Sketched it when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now." Kaine didn't know how to respond. She stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. "Pictures are wonderful things," continued the shopkeeper. "They're the ones closest to you live on forever." He shook his head slightly, then looked at down at Kaine and smiled, handing her the medicine. He reached into a sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. "You should have these. There's no one left that I wish to draw." Kaine took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. "Yeah, I've heard the rumors about you," he said. "It's a small village and the word travels fast. Between you and me, I'm not sure which one of them to believe. But I don't think they matter much. I know your grandmother, Kali, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable." "Grandmother's name is Kali?" thought Kaine suddenly. She was still mulling this new fact over in mind when as she reached out and gently took the crayons from the apocryphy's hands. "Your grandmother's an old friend of mine," he said as Kaine scooted away again, "and I owe her much. Wager she would like it if you drew a picture of her." "Yeah, I think she'd like that very much." Kaine murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless, and with enough tiny steps she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kaine returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a little bit in places. Leading Kaine to think that she'd been pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandma's pillow and turned to leave, and found the old woman's hand clasped around her arm. "Back already, are you?" asked her grandmother with a yawn. "Come here, let me have a look at you." Grandma sat up and examined Kaine from head to toe. Finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax. "Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble?" "It's kind of fun," said Kaine with a small smile. "No, seriously, it was." "Fun, huh?" asked the grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. "Uh-huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know." She spoke. Kaine removed the crayons from her pocket, After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandma that she was going to sketch her portrait. A portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wrinkled old crone. But Grandma, it'll make you live forever. Horse shit, said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from bed. Live forever would just piss me off. Now put those crayons away and help with dinner. But Kaine would not relent, and in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house as if posing for a master artist. Kaine took up her crayons, eyed the subject carefully, and set to work. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kaine finished the piece. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all. I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought the crayons would, make drawing easier. The old woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. Let me be the judge of that, she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have easily been a person's face. Also could have been a boulder, lump of clay, or an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh. Oh, Kaine, she said between laughter. You truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But I shouldn't hear any more bull about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I'll treasure it always. Sure to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table. In the days that followed, Kaine would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, Kaine could stand it no more and asked her grandma to take the artwork down. Posh, said the old woman. I'll take this down when they roll me in my shroud. She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kaine and dropped to one knee. Listen to me, girl. Seeing the picture makes me happy in a way I have never felt before. And it makes me want to go on, so that someday you can feel the same happiness. It was a moment that burned itself into Kaine's memory. A perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget that the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on. People and memories move on and in and out of life like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different, Kaine swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. Oh.